We can start a climate conversation with literally anything. Because if you think about it, every social issue is related to the climate. Listening to the people that know how to care for the land, and that's Indigenous people, for sure. You look at women in the Pacific Islands caring for...
Haere mai ki te kōrero, te ara whānui ki te rangi, ko Oscar toko ingoa. I'm here with voice of Aroha, Sahar, and we've got Jemima. Kia ora, Jemima.
Kia ora, my name is Jemima. I'm head of School Strike for Climate Pōneke, and I'm really happy to be here.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
There's a lot to chat about.
It's not nice seeing you again.
Thank you.
Cool.
You mentioned you were part of School Strikes for Climate, or the leader of School Strikes for Climate. So that's a huge role to have as climate activism. How did you get involved in climate activism?
It's a fantastic question. I think it started probably through my entire life. I've been really interested in the environment and how we can help sustain it for future generations. But particularly last year, around the end of 2023, early 2024, I saw something on Instagram, actually, shout out Instagram, about School Strike for Climate Pōneke and how they were recruiting. And I was like, oh, let's just see what it's about. It can't be that big of a deal. And I went along to the first meeting, was late by 30 minutes, by the way, because I got lost in my own city where I live. That was really embarrassing. Wasn't a great first impression. But I sat down and the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, this looks so cool. Everyone in there was so kind, so welcoming, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, really.
Good on you for going into it anyway.
But it was definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I have no regrets at all.
So that's how you got involved in climate, right?
Yeah, an Instagram
okay,
post, essentially.
I love that. I love that you, like, once you were there, you met, like, awesome people, and they've got a lot of momentum, that group, and, like, you guys have done a lot of amazing mahi.
Thank you.
And generated a lot of momentum in youth, I think in youth particularly, but also throughout Aotearoa. Like, you guys have had a major impact about raising climate awareness.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's very important, like, how connection can make difference, you know. She just joined them, you just joined them.
Mm.
Yeah.
And just because they're awesome and nice, and then they affected what you want to do next, you know?
Yeah,
It's
I can
really
tell you
interesting.
right now, I would not be where I am right now if it wasn't for the people in that group and how much they supported and welcomed me.
Awesome.
You know, like there's so much manakitanga in that group, and there continues to be. It's such a, what's the word? It's such a huge part of what we do. Because you can't care about the environment if you don't care about the people.
True.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. The risk of burnout is so high if you try and take it on by yourself, because the work is so much bigger than the worker. Have you ever experienced burnout in your mahi? Or
100%.
Absolutely. Same.
I think it's definitely overlooked, especially in youth, and when we're doing stuff like this, because our work isn't seen as valued by the general... Like, sometimes by quite a few people, it can be seen as like, oh, you're just an angsty youth that is complaining about stuff. And it's like, oh, I'm actually not, but
You've
okay.
got some really good ideas. A lot of energy to offer.
And a lot of the time they don't want to compensate young people because they don't see their work as valuable or as valuable as adults, which is very, very frustrating. I think that's a big thing that can lead to burnout, is not having your work be valued or seen as needed, or your voice be seen as valued. And young people get told day in, day out, and a lot of people don't actually, is that your voice is valuable and that your voice matters, and that, but it truly does. I mean, sometimes I'll be talking to politicians and they'll be talking about how they saw a survey once about young people and it made a huge impact on how they inform policy. And I think that just goes over young people's heads sometimes as well. It's like mine too, is how much of an impact we can have.
I think youth have so much to offer this kōrero, and so much energy and so much innovation and imagination and like so many new ways that we could approach things. And one of our previous guests was saying that, like, youth have a really rich understanding of what's happening right now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think almost... Okay, it's probably generalization to say more than any other generation, but because we have such access to information from all sources, all walks of life, it gives us a more well-rounded understanding of what's going on in the world, what we can do to support it, and why it's happening. I think we have more access to any information than at any point in time, really.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, it's incredible, but at the same time, it wields such power to do, good and bad. And young people having that responsibility on their shoulders to decide, what to believe and what is really true is really, really difficult. And I think that's a big thing that can lead to burnout is,
Absolutely.
This huge responsibility to carry all of the world's problems because we're the, one of the youngest generations. And
Absolutely.
we actually didn't create any of these issues.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for this.
So I've got warming oceans and eroding coastlines, but don't worry.
But
I've
you're
got
affected
Snapchat, so
by
it's all good.
this,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's fascinating. I think you bring up a lot of really interesting points there and a lot of really interesting dynamics there. Like how social media and the internet and AI tools are like potentially really amazing and also potentially really risky.
Yeah.
And like youth having to figure out kind of what's real and what's not kind of by themselves at the moment.
Exactly.
Is like
It's by ourselves.
isolating and big, like those are huge topics, immediately massive topics, and like the internet is a wild place, especially if you don't know how to discern what's real and what's not, or like still forging that. I think that's where like we can do more as like an intergenerational conversation to like help support that conversation. Be like, all right, if you guys are our scouts, then like what information have you brought back and how do we process this, or how do we connect this to what we've already got, or can we change our policies with this new information, or like where can we take this research? I think youth should actively play a role in that. Absolutely.
It's lovely how they the climate is a very big topic, right? And how now like talking about it and we just like making it like simple and easy for people to more like get the knowledge and
Absolutely,
like start looking at this and like we can do something, and I just have a question about for you. How would you start a climate conversation with anyone?
Do you like plants?
Excellent.
Either that or honestly, do you like bees? Because
yes,
Underrated.
the minute that you start talking about bees, they're like, bee movie. And you know how in the bee movie they talk about pollination and, loss of biodiversity and loss of plant life? And it's like, we can start a climate conversation with literally anything. Because if you think about it, every social issue is related to the climate.
yeah.
Like social justice and what's going on in different countries and world conflicts and how they create, environmental damage, etc. Everything's related to the environment. Like, we are the environment.
Absolutely. It's so interconnected.
Absolutely. I think also just back to what you said earlier about us having to decide like what's true and not. I just remember definitely when I was growing up, everyone, like all the adults would be like, don't believe everything you see on the internet. And I think that's a big thing that's been forgotten, even by adults and even by people our age.
And even
by
industry,
everyone.
even by
Absolutely.
like institutions, I think. Absolutely.
Because it's like not like deep fakes and AI, anything. People don't source check anymore. People don't go out of their way to go and see if something's true. It's just you see it and it's truth, and it's not majority of the time.
And I think that is a potentially very slippery slope, especially when like what we read is true and what do we use as evidence to build that truth.
Absolutely.
If that can just be like AI generated out of oblivion, or like like completely baseless but inspire action positively or negatively, I think that is a potentially obfuscating factor. Like there's so many things as part of AIs and as part of the internet and as part of that access to information. Like, how do we separate this? Because previously it used to be a process of like, I know this, what do you think? Like, let's read the books, what do they think? Like, we can read the literature now, what do they think? But like, as we include more and more and more AI tools and internet as that database, it's like all of those processes are changing, and like how we access knowledge is changing, how we source knowledge is changing, how we reference it is changing. Like, I think we do need to maintain all of those ways of like, how do we prove something is real, and how do we share that it's real between us?
Yeah, and not to mention, I think it's also a huge responsibility of our change makers and of our policymakers and of the people who hold all the influence and power to be holding really steadfast to what is true and making sure people know that things are true, because, you know, you see misinformation and disinformation being spread by our politicians.
Absolutely.
By people in power, and they know what they're saying and doing.
They're intentionally doing that. Yeah, that's true.
And that's what's frustrating, is because you know people will not go and check a second source.
Absolutely.
They won't ask, and they'll just believe it.
Absolutely.
And that holds space for so much harm to be done, especially to our minority communities, especially to our environment.
Absolutely.
So I think it's more important than ever to be, you know, making sure that what you're talking about is true. And if you don't think it is, maybe don't talk about it.
Yeah, or if these numbers don't add up, like we know this doesn't add up, or like there are some there are some big risks here that we need to avoid, and we need to like chat about this. Like I think, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you that like governments and councils should be kind of actively seeking what is real and what is true, and like what is the pulse of the community right now. What do we, how can we support? But like at the same time, how do we support where needed, but not like dictate that whole process?
Yeah, for sure.
That's fascinating. You mentioned a lot about like why climate is important and what activism means. Well, like what, and also about like the youth role in that. But what do you see moving forward as like that adults and decision makers often misunderstand about youth leadership?
That it's purely tokenistic and that we're kind of just like a tick box. Whereas we are the future. We're the now. You know, if you stop for 5 minutes and look at what youth are doing to help their communities, to build new ones, to help the environment, to help the people around them.
To check in with each other.
Exactly. They're doing more than you could have potentially asked of them at all. And I think it's really, really important for them to remember that, is that we are holding all of the world's problems on our shoulders because of decisions made by people much older than us. And there's nothing that we can do to reverse those decisions, but we're just trying to deal with them how we can. And if that's, you know, getting frustrated, and that's okay, I'm frustrated too. I think everyone is. But the important part is what you do with that frustration and how can it be productive.
Would you have any tips or tricks on how to deal with those, deal when things get hard, or like navigating the burnout and juggling lots of things, or navigating those resiliences?
I think for me personally, it's remembering that, you know, 20 million acres of Māori land were confiscated, and now I have the privilege of looking after that land. And so I should do everything I can to protect it, and to, you know, educate people on that, and educate people on how to protect the taiao. But I think a huge part of it is remembering why you're there, right? You know, and remembering your truth and your purpose, because you have one, and maybe you haven't found it yet, and that's okay, but you will. And that's what really grounds me in what I'm doing, I think, is remembering that even, you know, if you're arguing with someone about something, or you don't necessarily agree with someone about something, that we're all people, and, you know, we're all living on this planet, and it's all our responsibility to protect it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You've mentioned something about justice before. What climate justice means to you?
I think it means listening to the people that know how to care for the land, and that's Indigenous people, for sure. You look at women in the Pacific Islands caring for, you know, eroded coastlines. You look at Māori, how they care for te taiao here, especially in places like Taranaki, which is where I'm from. And it's, you know, the seabed and drilling and the mining going on in Taranaki, and how they're trying to keep doing that, and how we keep telling them not happening. Because we care, because we're connected to te taiao. You know, and not even 100 years of land confiscation can remove that, can sever that connection. Because it's ancestral, it's within every Māori, you know. And I think that's a big part of what climate justice is to me, is, you know, repairing past injustices and knowing that we can do better and we should be doing better. And that in order to do better, we have to work together as communities. We need to uplift our Indigenous people. We need to uplift our minorities. and those disproportionately affected by things like climate change. That's what climate justice is, I think, is by making sure that everyone is uplifted and that everyone has the opportunity to thrive, but most importantly, that Papatuanuku thrives, you know.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
That was a big question. That was a great answer.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think you hit on a lot of really interesting topics. Like, listen to the people who actually know how to live on this planet.
And who lived harmoniously and in reciprocal relationships with the land.
Absolutely. The Indigenous communities. Like, a lot of women take a lot of lead in those roles.
And not to mention, women are disproportionately affected by climate change.
Absolutely. And like, let the people who are intersectionally impacted speak out and actually have leadership and decision-making authority to enact those changes, because they know those changes.
And yeah, that's why I get frustrated when people are like, oh, well, just pick a struggle. No.
I think you've decided to pick all of the struggles.
Yeah, because every single one of them, you will find a connection. You know, like, not only is climate change a gender-based issue, but it's one that affects minorities the most. You know, like wahine Māori, I think I saw a statistic the other day, and wahine Māori were the most impacted by homelessness, and it was like, oh, that's really depressing, actually.
There are some stats that we could do way better in New Zealand.
Absolutely.
Way better.
And we have the resources, we have the abilities to do better. It depends on whether they put the resources there or not.
Absolutely.
It is no longer whether or not these people are choosing to live that way. You know, like, our governments and our people in power know how to stop and reduce the effects of climate change, and yet they choose not to.
Yeah.
Because the economy is more important.
And you're right that this, like, governments consistently play towards economic priorities, and I'm always confused, like, what does $1 million or $1 billion even mean when a cyclone blows through and you're uninsured? You know, like, what are we even talking about at this point? I think, yeah, absolutely. I think that you touch on a lot of really important topics. Absolutely. What are some ways that you think we can prepare for climate change? I mean, that's also a big question.
I think, again, looking towards Indigenous solutions for these problems, because we have the best ways to fix them and or reduce and mitigate them. Like Māori, you know, when it's proven that when iwi are looking after Māori land and looking after especially wetlands and ngahere, that they thrive. Things like that can help reduce climate change. You know, looking towards the solutions we know are, like, tried and tested over hundreds of years.
Absolutely.
Been here the longest. I think we know a thing or two about how to grow a tree.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the answers we have lie in Indigenous solutions and in the rangatiratanga that, like, the more we lean into that, I think the more we all benefit out of that process. The more our ecosystems heal, and the more our waterways heal. The more we can support each other and our social health, our mental health, our physical health. Like, there's so many ways and so many tools and so many approaches within Te Ao Māori and within the rangatiratanga that would help all of us, I think. And the more we lean into that, I think the more we can find multicultural answers between all of us. I think another question is, like, what are your thoughts on Te Tiriti? Because that's a big question.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Absolutely.
I think as our founding document, it needs it deserves respect, and it holds a lot of mana. You know, and there are people who have no idea how much it affects every single person that lives in this country. You know, no matter who you are, you are a partner to that document, and you always will be as long as you live here.
Partner and beneficiary. You know?
Exactly.
Like, it is actually a partnership and a treaty that benefits all of us if we play by those rules.
Exactly.
And I'm talking to the Crown as well. When they set up all these rules, they need to follow their own rules.
I mean, like, post Te Tiriti o Waitangi signing, I mean, millions and millions of acres of land were confiscated and inequitably sold, and some seriously shady deals went down.
Oh my God.
Especially in places like Taranaki, Bay of Plenty, Waikato, and pretty much the
Wellington.
entire South Island and Wellington. And it's incredibly discouraging to see that our government went out of their way, knew what they were doing, disobeyed and disavowed the entire treaty just to get a quick couple land sales for their new settlers. And it's like, oh, what stops them from doing that again?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's incredibly important for Te Iwi Māori to not only have we united in the face of this current government, but I think we've recognised, because I think, you know, not everyone, not even some Māori understand the importance of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and what it means for us, especially in how we protect Te Taiao and our rights to Te Taiao, because, you know, we are the land and the land is us. And so we need to put some more respect on Te Tiriti. But yeah, it means everything. And it connects everyone. And it's, you know, that one thing that we all have in common. So yeah, we're all partners, we're all beneficiaries of it. You know, let's treat it as such.
Absolutely. And if we actually honoured it and like, let Māori rangatira and rangatiratanga navigate their own spaces and develop their own solutions and systems and approaches and environmental management and all of these things. Like, there's so many things that would enrich all of our experience for Aotearoa.
Yeah, I mean, it was a promise of partnership in 1840. You know, it wasn't a promise of letting go of our power or ceding anything, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big answer and a big question for sure, and I think you're really articulate about that. And what I suppose in relation to that, what is the significance of the hikoi? And you mentioned a Māori some of the most unified they've been in the face of this government in a while.
Yeah, I definitely haven't felt this unification of Māori or Te Iwi Māori while I've been alive.
True.
And it's definitely rooted in me as a wahine Māori that, you know, there is unity there, and there always will be if we continue this way. I went to the hikoi, woke up at about 3 o'clock in the morning, walked from Pitone to Waitangi Park. God, it was so tiring. But then I kept thinking, I like having rights, I'm going to keep walking. So it wasn't as tiring, but it was one of those days where you're like, wow, the FOMO that I would have if I wasn't here right now would be insane. And I'm incredibly grateful to have gone and to be able to be there. Not to mention I got barrier at hikoi. I mean, how many people can say that? It was incredible. Watching Hana Rāwhiti speak, seeing all of these rangatira Māori speak and the mana and the kotahitanga that was just emanating everywhere from everyone. People from all walks of life were there. It was not just Māori, you know. It was true unity of this whole country against such a harmful bill and against something that was not going to benefit anyone apart from a select few people. And we know who they are. And it gave me a great deal of hope, not only for the environment, but for every injustice that's been done to Māori. You know, people support Māori, and it definitely showed me that this government was a one-term government, because people do care. And I think it definitely helped to bring awareness to how much Te Tiriti matters to all of us.
Absolutely. That's another really great answer for a really, really big question, really big topic. And I think it is a really important topic, and I think we all need to learn more about Te Tiriti and the significance of the hikoi and how we can be tangata Tiriti allies and how do we help support that process. I thought when the hikoi came to Wellington, I thought it was a really interesting example of what Wellington could look like moving forward. You know what I mean? Like it was like there were people from everybody, like all walks of life were like in Waitangi Park. Like it was like a music festival, but like really meaningful, really like political as well, but really peaceful. I thought the kotahitanga and the whole ethos of the whole event was really exciting. And I think like it did contribute and facilitate a really rich kōrero to happen. Like, I wish David Seymour took an entirely different approach to facilitate that conversation.
Absolutely.
But I think it did spark a really, like, it captured a lot of social momentum in Aotearoa, I think.
I think as someone who's planned and, contributed to planning of a demonstration, the amount of work that goes into one day of a demonstration is immense. It took us about 6 months to plan literally one day for a strike. So the amount of work that has been done by people like Edu Kapakingi and the Hikoi movement is incredible. And I think that hasn't been talked about enough.
Absolutely.
Is how much effort that people like him have put in to uplift the mana of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, to uplift the mana of Māori, you know, and I think we need to be emphasising that more.
Yeah.
You know, how much genuine hard work has gone into this. Because it's, obviously, it was not just him doing it. There would have been many, many other people helping this, but it's one of those things where it can be very draining.
Absolutely. And there's I think that's one of those examples where it's like, in order to do this thing, and like we need so many other skill sets in order to do this thing. Like
it takes a village.
Absolutely.
It takes a community to do something like that.
And
And
that's
that is why it was so successful. It would have taken a community of genuine, hardworking, caring and compassionate people who have purpose and who have mana to pull off something like that, because it was just incredible. And I think I had nothing bad to say about it. I was just like, oh, this is amazing, you know? Like, it's incredible. I was incredibly grateful to be there, you know?
Yeah. It felt like a really powerful event as well. I was there when it came to Wellington too. Absolutely. And Edu Kapakingi I was really grateful to have him as one of my lecturers at uni. Like, his systematic overview and then articulation of our agency and what we can do to change this, and like, even though it's like this, it doesn't have to stay like this, you know. Like he knew so much about so many different things, and it's been great to see like how his rangatira has grown, and he's really made an amazing pan Māori platform. I think that's really exciting, actually.
I've seen that I see that you're wearing the Hot Sister City Foundation. Do you want to talk about it?
So I'm going to America in July.
Yes, cool.
And I'm really, really excited. I'm going to Arizona, and it's going to be very, very hot. It's going to be middle of summer. It's taken a lot of work to get to this point. I think signed up in about mid-year last year to do this, and you apply and you go through a process and house visit and all that kind of thing. And essentially you go there for a month. Well, a student from America comes over and stays with you, and then you go and stay with them for a month. And it's a cultural exchange, you know, it's to create lasting friendships and create those bonds between cities, which I think, especially now, more than ever, with the current world situation, I don't want to say it's a dumpster fire, but it is.
We need way more connectivity for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why this organisation exists. It's existed since, I think, the late 70s, maybe early 80s. And so many people in the Hut community that I know have done the exchange or know people who have. And it's such a huge platform for connection. And there's just been amazing memories made. My older sister did it last year, which was amazing. And I just saw how much joy it brought her. And I think it was like, oh, well, you know, like that could be me too. So,
That's lovely.
And I just had massive support from my family and all my friends and things like that to get to this point, because obviously a lot of fundraising had to be done.
Sure.
It was big job, but it was, it's pretty incredible.
Good on you for getting to this point. I hope the trip goes well. That sounds like a really interesting trip.
I think it's going to be a bit crazy going, because everyone I know, when I say I'm going to America, they give me this funny look of like,
America's going through a lot right now.
Okay, but why?
Yeah,
and I'm like, I didn't know this was going to happen.
Yes, I still get those eyes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You get them forever, you know, it never ends.
Absolutely. I mean, while America is going through a lot right now, and while the world stage is going through a lot right now, there's also a lot of really good people doing a lot of amazing mahi,
absolutely.
and that's actually the majority. That doesn't make the news very much, but that's actually what's happening on the ground a lot of the time. So all the best for your trip to Arizona. That sounds so exciting. I guess one of my last questions would be, would you have any advice to rangatahi who are looking to get involved?
With climate action or with...
or professional development or leadership.
Yes.
I think all three. If you don't mind that huge answer.
All of them.
I think a huge part of it is making sure that you have a support network before going into anything. because you cannot do anything like this alone. You need a community, and you need people to back you, and you need people to support you.
That's
And if you
important.
don't have those people now, let's start looking for them. You know, let's start making connections, because connections is what gets people anywhere. That's the only reason why I'm here. That's the only reason why I've been able to do anything.
That's the only reason I'm here
You know?
too.
Like,
Same.
I swear, whenever I tell people, whenever I hear the word, it's a small world, or like, you know, that phrase, I just think that's the only reason the world goes round. It's because people know each other. And it's like, oh, my friend does this. Do you think you'd be interested in that? And it's like, that can just open doors for some incredible stuff. And I think it's really important to remember you need a community behind you. You know, you need support, because you can't do it alone, because then you'll get burnt out, and then nothing good can be done. I think it's, you know, obviously it's a marathon, not a sprint. So yeah.
I think that's
Lovely.
another
Lovely.
great answer.
Yes, lovely.
I pick your battles and have your support crew, because I fully agree with you that like so much of this is bigger than we are, and like the only way we do anything is together, I think. And we've got our best answers between us. I firmly believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have another person's perspective, because it's, you know, everyone's got all these different experiences and ideas, and if we can bring that together, we can create things that are just so incredible.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
one last thing. Okay, we have a tradition of the last guest left you a message. I mean a question. Sorry, and I'll ask you the question, and you'll get a chance to write for our next guest a question as well. So yeah, the question is: what is your favorite winter thing to do in Wellington?
Favorite winter thing to do in Wellington?
Yes.
That's a great question.
Great question. I was expecting something like really deep. So favorite winter thing to do in Wellington? My days. I actually love going to the movies.
That's a
yes.
great option.
I
Yes.
went and saw How to Train
I
Your
agree.
Dragon, the new one. It was
Oh,
actually
okay.
really, really good.
Okay.
Julian Dennison,
Okay.
what are you doing in that movie?
Okay.
It was so random. I was like, okay. But he was actually pretty
I
good.
haven't
so
watched it yet.
It's a great movie, to be fair. And of all the ones to live action, it's a pretty good one to live action.
It was really good. I would highly recommend.
All right. On my
But,
to-do
yeah.
list. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for your time.
Thank
It's
you
been
so much for having me.
a really
great
rich corridor.
conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.